everyone, and welcome to Asian Viewpoints with Mary Sitt. A recent Supreme Court ruling restricted how colleges can use race in their admissions policies in a landmark ruling that struck down affirmative action programs at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina. Here to tell us more is Dr. Andrew Hsu. He's the president of the College of Charleston and a public liberal arts university located in historic Charleston. Dr. Hsu, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Mary.
So let's talk about this admissions, this ruling, Supreme Court ruling. How will that affect your college, if at all?
Certainly, it's going to affect our ability to recruit minority students, and because we can no longer use race as a criteria in our evaluations and decisions, and we had affirmative action activities in terms of admission, and now we have to rethink how we continue to ensure that we have a inclusive and diverse campus.
In the end, do you think this decision will create a less diverse student population and sort of have a chilling effect on, the applicants?
I don't think so, Mary. I think universities will figure out ways to continue to uphold the value of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I think many universities are already trying to figure out how to continue to uphold those values without the ability to enforce affirmative action in the admission process.
Under your leadership, applications to your college has reached an all-time high. Tell me what you're doing right.
Well, I think we're doing many things right. Obviously, when I first came 4 years ago, I told my admissions officer that I want to throw everything possible in the kitchen sink and just to see what works. And we did probably 5-6 different things trying to improve the friendliness of our application process and increase the amount we do for recruitment and marketing. And as you mentioned, our application numbers went from 12,000 to now over 26,000. So
wow.
We are very much pleasantly surprised by what you can achieve by doing things different.
Dr. Hsu, you also added an innovative engineering program. Did that help in your application process too? People want to
certainly that is helping because in the past when we didn't have engineering programs, those students would simply not even look at us. And now that we do, we are certainly attracting a lot of students that would normally not even consider us as a campus.
Now, you came from an engineering background. You have a degree in aeronautical engineering, and that's pretty unusual for college presidents, right? I looked it up, and most college presidents come from a business background, believe it or not, right? 27% is what I read. So tell me about your career path.
Sure. So, as you mentioned, I had a doctorate from Georgia Tech in aerospace engineering, and in fact, I worked in industry for about 10 years before I decided that academic career is a better pathway for me.
You worked at NASA, is that right? And
I worked for NASA as a contractor, and then I worked for Rolls-Royce, which is an aircraft engine company, a British aircraft engine company. But I started teaching part-time as an adjunct professor when I was an engineer at Rolls-Royce, and finally decided that this is just a more fulfilling career path for me, and so I decided to join academia full-time. And then of course one thing led to the other. When I was promoted to full professor, my dean said, "Well, Andrew, you complain a lot about what we're doing wrong at the dean's office. Why don't you join me in the dean's office and help us correct things?" So that led me to become an administrator.
How did growing up in the Cultural Revolution shape the way you think now?
Well, I think it really gave me resilience. I mean, whatever I faced now, day in and day out, nothing can be compared or even come close to sort of the challenges and difficulties I faced as a teenager. So I think that made me an optimist. That things will always be better as long as you continue to make an effort.
So you wrote in a recent op-ed piece that there was like a tsunami waves about to hit higher education. Three big things: artificial intelligence, something called the enrollment cliff in 2025. I'm not sure what that means, if it means enrollment would drop. And then just critics questioning the relevance of a college degree, yet you remain an optimist. Can you address these three issues and tell me why you're an optimist about these?
Sure. So first, let me explain those three things a little bit. Of course, there's been since 10 years ago when MOOC, MOOC, which stands for Massively Open Online Courses, there were predictions that brick and mortar higher education is no longer needed. They're going to be they're going to go out of business and so forth. And 10 years now, we're still very much needed. And in terms of, but certainly, the development of generative AI and so forth is going to create a big challenge for higher education. And we need to rethink what we do, certainly in higher education. And then, of course, the demographic cliff is caused by the fact that back in 2008, when during the economic downturn, there are just fewer babies born in the U.S. And so by 2026, these new babies back then will be 18-year-olds, and then there are just going to be fewer students of college age, and all the projection is that nationally there's going to be a 10% decline in terms of total number of students going to college. And many universities, as you well know, are already struggling financially, and that lack of students is going to put many schools in trouble. And then, of course, now the general population is saying that you really don't need a college degree, and that had affected the college going rate of high school graduates. So those are going to be major challenges that we as an industry will face in the next 5 years. And certainly, I hope the College of Charleston is well prepared for that.
And what's your strategy to remain optimistic despite these three challenges?
So, our strategy, of course, as you already mentioned, one is to try to increase the number of students interested in the College of Charleston. So when that demographic cliff hits, we do not suffer from a lack of students' interest in the College of Charleston. And in order to continue to have students interested in us, we really need to first continue to improve our academic reputation. Obviously, we're one of the oldest universities in the South and the 13th oldest in the country. So we already have a good academic reputation, but continue to improve that to demonstrate that our degrees would actually bring good career paths to our graduates is the key. And that is one reason that we're starting all these new programs. We last year, or actually back in January, started a new School of Health Sciences.
Oh, very
and then,
nice.
of course, we have started our new engineering programs a couple of years ago. So those are the high demand programs in the future. I hope that will ensure our success.
Well, thank you so much for talking to us about the College of Charleston and about your career. Wish you the very best.
Thank you, Mary. Thanks again.
That's all for this edition of Asian Viewpoints. If you liked what you heard, please click the like button below and be sure to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you again in the next video.